Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Reen Wilcoxon, founder of Embroidery Garden, and welcome to May's Tuesday Tip. I can't believe it's May already. The year is flying by already. I see Lisa here, Jennifer's here, Rebecca and Pam, and I believe Molly's here. Hi, Molly. Good to see you, Molly, even if it's just on a little demo here. Hi, Bertie, LaDonna. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. So today I'm going to show you how I make an adjustable strap for my In the Hoop bags. I've been making adjustable straps for a while now, and I get a lot of questions about them. So I thought it would be great to do one of my Tuesday tips on how to make a strap. They're really very easy to make. Has anyone made straps? Or a lot of comments are flying through already, so I'm just kind of looking over here reading them. So before we get started, like every time I do a demo or a live, I want to announce things that are upcoming for Embroidery Garden. So on May 11th, I am hosting the free Quilt As You Go virtual event presented by Dime. It's a shop and learn event. You're going to learn all about quilting and making in the hoop little blocks. So this is my sample I stitched out. It's a log cabin, obviously. It was pieced in the hoop and quilted in the hoop. You could probably see that little flower in the center, but it also has quilting up here in the light area and down here in the dark area. I probably should have switched my colors around so you could see that a little bit better, but the program will show you how to create the little blocks and how to piece them together. There are different ways you can put them together, and they'll go through all that. And there's software that makes this very easy. And there's all kinds of great products associated with this technique that you will be able to buy at great prices. You do have to register for that. I'm going to put the link up here for the Quilt As You Go event. It is happening on May 11th, and you do have to register. The next thing on the 15th, Caroline is going to be bringing back her hexagon table topper. This is sewing. This is not in the hoop. This is sewing. These are really fun to make, very easy to make. Caroline will show you how to cut it out, how to make it. A lot of people, after they take the class, they use like holiday fabrics for the front, and then the back piece, which is a solid piece, they add a coordinating holiday fabric that would be for the next upcoming holiday. So they have basically two little toppers in one. You have to register for this class. You can go to embroiderygarden.com and click on classes at the top, and then virtual classes to sign up for that. On May 16th, I'm going to be doing another Takeover Tuesday on Sewing Machines Plus's on their Facebook page. I think I'm going to do one of my designs that has maybe clear vinyl in it. It's where I take over their page for about an hour and show you how to do a project. That will be on their page, their Facebook page, or their YouTube channel, that's Sewing Machines Plus, and you will have to, view it on one of those. I'm looking at Lois says she likes a design that just came out called Border. I'm not exactly sure what that one is. I did come out with, what did I come out with? Oh, the little hanging with the bee hanging. Eileen, you like my little brooch I'm wearing? This is part of my collection I have, the Garden Flower Lace collection. It's a set of lace flowers. You can get that on embroiderygarden.com. Get back to what's coming up. On May 18th, Caroline is presenting her bread boat. It's an oval clothesline bread boat class. I don't have my sample made, but it is just adorable. Great, great gift for a hostess or to use on your table at any dinner or holidays. So it's an oval clothesline bowl that's large enough to hold some bread or rolls. And she's got a link to buy a little warmer that you put in the oven. And she shows you how to make a little quilted pouch to put that in. There are also instructions for the class to make a little mitered towel that you can like put over the top. You could embroider it if you want to keep your rolls warm. It was a very popular class, the last one that she did, and that's coming up on the 18th. To sign up for that, you go to embroiderygarden.com, click on classes, virtual classes, and it'll get you there. And then the last thing that's upcoming, May 20th, I'm going to be doing my May demo. And this month, I'm going to show you how to create a recipe towel. I'm going to take you through how to create this lettering. This lettering, I'm going to hold it up really close, is 0.22 inches high. And look how nicely it's stitched out. I know you can read it from here. This is a recipe for peanut butter cookies for my mother-in-law. And I'm going to show you how to create it, the supplies you need to stitch it, and how to stitch it out. I'm actually going to stitch it. Here is her handwritten recipe. So basically, I'm going to try to stay true to her recipe and create a towel, which is going to be a fun little gift. So that is May 20th. You'll watch that on Embroidery Garden's Facebook page or on Embroidery Garden's YouTube channel. I just put it up yesterday, some information about it for the event, and it's already got a lot of interest, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Lois says that stitch out for that towel is amazing. It's a nice font. I'm going to tell you all about it. And again, that font was 0.22 inches high. So it turned out just fantastic. So look forward to that on May 20th. So I'm looking at some more comments coming through. Again, thanks everyone for joining me. Let's get to making our adjustable strap. So I'm going to talk about making a strap out of cotton fabric, out of cork fabric, and out of faux leather. So let's just take a look at what I'm going to be showing you today. So here are some straps that I've made for various bags. And this one was made from faux leather. And I mean, just look how nice this looks. Making an adjustable strap like this and adding, nice hardware is really going to level up the bags that you make. And you can add an adjustable strap to any bag. So this is faux leather. This is another, it's sold as, they call it vinyl. It's a very, very soft vinyl, but it makes a really nice strap. Cork can be used for straps. And of course, fabric. So I'm going to show you how to make one of these. Your choice of hardware is going to be your own personal choice. To do something like this, you need 2 swivel hooks and a tri-glide, or they call these buckle slides, or a slider buckle, I'm sorry, or tri-glide. And that's all you need to make an adjustable strap like this. So again, like I said, the hardware that you need, 2 swivel hooks. You need something that you're going to already have added to your bag. And if you watched my demo last month, this is that Patty Joe that I made. It's one of my in the hoop bags. It has 2 zippers, the open pocket. This is the one I made using foam. You can see what nice structure it has. I did not make the strap for it purposely because I wanted to show you today how to get that strap made. But you do have to have something attached to your bag when you make it so that it gets sewn into the seam up here to be able to attach the strap to. And on this one, I use D-rings. A lot of times, that's my go-to, are D-rings, but sometimes I use what are called triangle rings. And they're just shaped like little triangles. So they would go in basically like this. Now this hardware, it all comes in different sizes. I actually think this is 1-inch hardware. Let's see, I have some over here. This is like 3/4 inch. It's all personal preference, the hardware you use, the size that you use. So you can make those decisions. To make your decisions a little bit easier, I have what I call my hardware sampler sheet, which is a download from embroiderygarden.com. It's free. And what this is, it's a PDF that you print out. I laminated it. You want to laminate it. And then you make samples of the different sizes of straps for hardware. It tells you on here that if you are going to make, for example, hardware that is 1/2 inch wide, and that's the inner dimension. When you measure these things, it is the inner dimension. You don't measure, side to side. It's the inner dimension that you would cut the strap 2 inches wide. And then, I just made little samples with the D-rings, and I use snaps, and so I could snap them on here. So then I could take them off. And what I do is, let me just go ahead and take this one off. So if I'm making a bag, I can kind of take this and take it over to my bag and look at it and determine, do I want my finished hardware to be 1/2 inch? Or do I want it to be 3/4 inch? Or maybe I want it to be 1 inch. It helps me to kind of get a feel for what I want my finished bag to look like. And then when you're done, you can just snap them back on here. But for all the sizes, finished sizes of strap and the hardware, it tells you how wide to cut your strips. So free download, go to embroiderygarden.com, click on free, and you can download it. Download this. Again, it's a PDF that you would print out, laminate, and there are instructions on how I make the strap. Okay, so we got that. I'm just looking to see if there's been any questions. Julie says, personal preference of what's available in your area. You can always order online, and that's how I order or how I get all of my strap hardware. Usually I get mine mostly from Sally Tomato. I order a bunch of hardware from Sally Tomato. It's quality stuff. I really like it. You can get some stuff off of Amazon. It's not, the best quality. I mean, but it works. It's whatever you want. But you can get hardware very easily, very readily. Yeah, you might have to order it online, but don't we order everything online? So let's get back to the strap. So how do I make a basic strap? Let me kind of move this stuff up a little bit. I made like a little sample thing here. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so basically when I want to make a strap, and for an adjustable strap, I usually make the strap around 50 inches long. If you're going to make a strap for maybe a child or a teen, you might need to make it a little bit shorter. But for most adults, 50 inches is good. I am going to make, let's see, my strap is going to be I'm going to use this hardware for my strap, which is 3/4 inch. So I started with a 3-inch wide piece of fabric, and that's what that chart I just showed you has. Tells you to make it 3 inches wide for the type of strap I'm going to make. You do have to piece it together, because most of the time you're not going to be able to cut a real long 50-inch strip out of one piece of fabric. So to put it together, to piece it together, and I like to only have one area that I've pieced it in. I only want to piece about 2 pieces together. I really don't want to piece more than that together on the strap. So you put right sides together, match it up, having one going, across and one going down. What I like to do is take a ruler, line it up at this point and this point down here. I draw a line because I want it to be straight. Oh, I don't think my pen drew on that, but you get the idea. Let me just make sure my pen will write. Okay, you can see that line I drew there. And of course, I would have it clipped together and take it to the machine and sew directly on my line. Then you're going to come and you would cut that off. I use a ruler again, 1/4 inch seam, cut it, and then you're going to press that seam. Your seam would be pressed open, then fold it over, and then this is how it looks at the end. Some of my straps, let me kind of show you. Here's the fabric strap I did. Let me find out where I pieced it together. Here it is right here. So when the strap is done, you can see there's the seam right there, and that's what it'll look like when it gets pieced together. There'll be a line on both sides, but that's hardly even noticeable. When I do it on, and I'll show you how I do it too for cork and, the faux leather. But once you've got it together, and I'm just going to pretend, this is a really long strap. Bithia, I don't really go by, if I'm going, usually I go with a fabric. That'll be 36 inches or, 44 inches right there, and then cut another piece. It kind of depends on how much fabric I have. We may have a smaller piece of fabric and I have to cut it, up and down instead of going crossways. So it really doesn't matter because a strap is straight. It's not like it's a curve, so it doesn't matter if you're cutting it, on the straight or the bias or crossways or any way that you cut it, as long as you get the length that you need. So then what I do is on the end, on both ends, I want to turn under like, I don't know, about 1/2 inch, because I want my strap, when it is finished, to be finished on the short ends also. Then I take the strap and I fold it in half, press it, open it up, and then fold each long edge into that crease. And again, I would take my time and be nice and neat. Then fold it in half again, add my clips, and then we'll stitch around here, and I'll talk about stitching in a little bit. Now, you have the option too, you can always put some type of interfacing in here. You could put foam or batting. And when I put foam or batting, I don't cut the piece to be, as wide as I cut the fabric, because once you do all this folding and had foam or batting in there, it's going to be really thick. But if you wanted to, you could. But I take a piece, and I know that in the end, when this is all done and folded, it's going to be 3/4 inch wide. So I cut my foam or batting 3/4 inch. I can start it here on the edge. And of course, if you press it already, you already know where everything's going to fold. And then this will get folded in. The side is folded in. Oops, let me make sure my end stays folded in. Fold it in half. Make sure the sides line up. Make sure those folds line up. And then take clips, clip it all together. I would take my time and get this end, nice and neat, but I'm not going to worry about that now. And then clip it all the way down. Again, keep this edge even. And when I sew this, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just sew a little bit of it so you can see. But I start sewing on the edge where the folds are, because if I get any shifting, I don't want to start over here on this side, because if it shifts, I may not be able to get this lined up. So I start stitching on the side that has the 2 folds, and I start stitching kind of close to an end. And that's because when this is done, for example, on this one had it been, that's not a good example. Let me use the actual fabric one to show you. So if I start stitching this near the end, near one of the short ends, when it gets put into the hardware, that short end gets folded up. So where I start and stop is going to be hidden on the back side of the strap. So that's why I always like to start stitching kind of near the end. And what you're going to do is stitch close to the edge, come down, stitch across that folded short end, up the other side and down. What I would do is start at the other, we're going to pretend this has been finished off. I'd start up here so I can come all the way down this double folded edge first to prevent any shifting. So let's just kind of go to the machine, and later I'll talk about, after I get done showing you the fabric one, we'll talk about how you do faux leather or cork to do the strap. So let's go over to the machine. I've got it set up with a foot, and let me show you the foot that I like to use. So, you can use any foot that has like a guide on it. Can you see this? If I quit moving it, you could probably see it better, or down here. See this little black piece here? It's a guide. Now, I don't know what foot this is called for my machine. It doesn't matter, but I like to have a guide, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the edge of the fabric against this guide, and that's going to keep everything nice and straight. Nothing looks worse on your strap than having it be, crooked on the edge, you're stitching. So I have a similar foot on my machine. And let me get my strap piece over here. And move my clips so they're a little bit out of my way. And I do need to take my strap and I didn't take my time and get it nice and even. So let me just kind of try to do that. All right, so I'm set up for sewing. I do have my needle in the center position right now, because what I like to do, sorry, I hit the camera, is get it underneath the foot, get the edge lined up. I need to take that out so I can get close. Have the edge lined up with that little guide, drop my foot down. Now I can adjust my needle. I can take my needle and move it over to where I want it to be. And you can see it moving. You want it to be about 1/8 of an inch. It really doesn't matter if you're not exactly at 1/8 of an inch. And I lengthened my stitch to 3.0. If you're using something like faux leather, you might want to go 3.5, to have your stitches look nice. Let me try and get this fixed up a little bit more, because I know I'm not even. Okay, so after I have it lined up, what I like to do is pull up my bobbin thread. So I'm going to grab my top thread, and I'm using white just so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to use my needle down, needle up, and I'm going to try and get my bobbin thread up. You saw it come up there. And why do I do this? Because I'm trying to avoid that little knot that you get on the back side when you, do like a running stitch type of stitch. Let me get this back underneath the foot. And now I'm ready to start. I've got my needle lined up where I want it to be. And I'm going to just start stitching. I'm going to back stitch. And then, and then just start stitching down. And you can see that guide, I'm keeping the fabric right next to that little guide. I would go all the way down to the short end, pivot, go across the short end, and then back up the other side. And let me just get this out. What I like to do when I take it out too, and I'm all done, I don't need to sew the entire thing for you to see it. I like to lift my needle up. I like to lift the foot up and pull it out and cut my threads. And the reason I do that, again, is to avoid all kinds of knots and things. So let's just kind of look at my strap. Again, this is just like a little sample. You can see my stitching there. This is where I started. Let me clip this thread off. And if we look at the back side, this is where I started again. You can see I don't have any kind of nasty little knot. That's where I started, back stitched, and then started stitching. And then you just do that all the way around your strap. Carol, what did I put in here to stiffen it? This was a little piece of sew any shape foam that I just put in there, one little piece. Again, you could use batting. You could use something that is a fusible to stiffen it. That's really kind of whatever you prefer. Laurel, I basically just use regular, thread. Just Coats and Clark thread is what I use when I make a strap. At times, I have used embroidery thread, and I do believe on the strap that I finished, the one that I'm actually going to put on my bag. Let's look up at the end there. See how I went across and came down the sides. This was the same embroidery thread that I used when I did the quilting and made the bag, when I put it on the strap here. Again, there's that finished end, and it's stitched all the way around. And I'm going to use this one to put the hardware on to make the adjustable part of the strap. So let's say you want to make one out of faux leather. So I got a little piece of faux leather here. Now, faux leather or vinyl, this one's made of vinyl, or even cork. You can't, take your piece that you've cut, you can't fold it and press it with an iron. You're going to mess it up. So what I do is I mark the center of my piece. And again, this is just a sample. Let me just try to line it up a little bit for you. Of course, I line it up, I find the center, and I just take a pin, and on the back side, I draw a center mark, and I would go all the way down my strap. On the back side, drawing a center mark. One thing I do want to say is of course, you have to piece this just like we pieced the other strap that was fabric. You're going to have to piece your faux leather, your cork together. So you do it the exact same way. I would take my other piece and lay it right sides together, going this way, stitch corner to corner, cut it off at 1/4 of an inch. But then what I do is take it, open up that seam. Let me find the one I did here. Open up that seam and then top stitch before I do any folding. And what that does is it helps to keep that seam allowance down. So I did it here on the faux leather. Did I do it on this one? I didn't do it on this vinyl strap because this one is very, very soft. So those seams laid down for me. On the cork, I did it on the cork. Let me find that. There, I top stitched it down. So, something that's a little bit thicker, you might want to top stitch it down. Carol is asking a question. Do you join the stiffening together for the full length? Yeah, if you're going to iron something on to make this stiffer, yeah, you're going to have to, I just butt the pieces up. So if I was adding, more foam or an iron-on stiffening product, I would butt it together and just continue to iron it on. If I'm using foam, I might butt the pieces together and do a real loose zigzag going across to stitch those two together, to hold them together, to make sure that they didn't, separate a little bit, and then I'd have a real flat spot. But getting back to using the cork or the faux leather, I draw a line because I can't, fold it and press it with an iron. So I've got my center mark done. Now, another thing too, with using something thicker like this, you may not want to do all those folds because it would be folded like this, and like this. And now it ends up where I have 4 layers. Some machines can go through it, some machines can't. Bonnie, the foam, it's not that thick. I don't really know the measurement, but there it is right there. So some machines, you may not be able to go through something this thick. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about rivets. Maybe you can't get your rivet through all of this. So I kind of make a decision when I'm making my straps. On this one, what I did, and let me find an area you can see it, I folded it in thirds instead of in all those quarters and fold it in half again. You can see here's my fold right here. This is the back side of the strap, and there's my fold right there. So this was folded 3 times. So basically, I folded it and then brought the other piece over like this, and then stitch close to the edge. Make sure you're catching this piece here, this raw edge here. But I only used 3 layers when I made this strap. When I did this cork one, I just folded it in half. Here you can see the edges. I just folded this one in half. Cork is very strong. I didn't feel like I needed to fold it in thirds or even fold it in the quarters. So this one was just folded in half. Of course, you cut it, differently. You're not going to be cutting it the measurements that are on this chart because the chart is made, these measurements that I have, the width, the cut, are for making a fabric strap when it is folded, like I'm showing you how I folded this one. So to go back to making the one out of faux leather or cork. So if I wanted to do this in faux leather, I could just fold it in half. Sew down the folded edge and the raw edge, just like I did on the fabric one. I thought that this one needed a little bit more. If you want to put, batting in this one or foam in this one or, put something on it, you can. This is all personal choice. This is how you want it to be when it's finished, the feel that you want it to have. You don't want a strap to be really stiff because it's going to have to, go on your shoulder. So you don't want it to be really stiff and have, any kind of pointed edges or anything. You want it to curve around and be nice and feel nice on your shoulder. So how am I going to get this to stay together? What I like to do is use this double-sided tape. Let me find the end of it. So it's sticky on this side. This side has the paper on it that I'll pull off a little bit later. I'm just going to pull off just a little piece of it now. And if I were going to do this, I would fold it. Let's just say I'm going to make this one in thirds. Let me get my tape here, and I'm not going to put it right at, the edge. I mean, right on the edge. I'm going to get it close to the edge, but not right on the edge because I don't want to take a chance of any of it, happen to be shown on the outside. You want to get this pushed down really well. Take a credit card or something that's really going to burnish it down well. And then you're going to peel the paper off. And this is probably the hardest part. And let me find a pen. I can get some of it off here. Again, this is going to be the hardest part, taking this little piece of paper off. There it comes. So now I have sticky tape. And if I fold this, let's say I'm doing this one in thirds, I would have marked my line for my thirds if that's what I was doing. And now at least I have one edge secured. That helps a lot when you're trying to sew this together. You could take your other edge, fold it over, and I probably got this one a little bit too far over. That's what's good about this too. You can take it off and reposition if you need to. And then you fold the other edge over. That's how I did this strap here. I would use my clips. I don't use a lot of clips. Sometimes you got to watch your faux leather or your vinyl you're using, that, you know, they could leave little indents, you know, in your material. But I would do the same exact thing where, let me grab my clip again, where I stitch around the entire strap. Start near the short end, come all the way down. I'm doing it from the front side. Make sure, though, that you catch this raw edge on your underside. Come all the way down, go all the way around, and all the way back up again. Doing something like faux leather or cork, I would probably increase my stitch length to 3.5. Always take a scrap and test on that before you start actually doing your strap. And I would probably use, you know, an 80-12 needle on something like this. But when your strap is done, see how nice and pretty that looks? And on the back side, you can see here's my raw edge here, that I cut my raw edge all the way down. That's something you want to make sure that you do. Same thing with the cork. You know, you're stitching close to the edge. Again, this one, I only folded it in half. So if I was making a strap and using 3/4 inch hardware, I would cut my faux leather, or I'm sorry, my cork strip 1.5 inches wide. So that would, when I folded it in half, it would give me my 3/4. So, you know, making the strap is very easy. Again, I make them about 50 inches long to make an adjustable strap. Again, for a child or maybe even a teen, you might want to make that strap a little bit shorter. Laurel, where do I get my faux leather from? Basically, I get the majority of it from Sally Tomato. They've got some really nice products. Let's see, I'm looking for some more questions. Yeah, the Patty Joe collection is on embroiderygarden.com. I see one about the slider. What size slider you're going to use. They're called tri-glides or slider buckles. It depends on, you know, how the size that you want. This one, when I made this strap, this is a 1 inch slider buckle, and I used 1 inch hardware. This one actually goes on this bag. This was my double zip organizer bag that I did, and I used the 1 inch D-rings. So you have to have something to hook your strap onto. And one thing that I love about doing a strap like this, let me just put it on here really quick. The swivel hook just connects to it. If you make a lot of bags, and let's say you make a ton of bags, well, if you have a very neutral strap, like say this is black faux leather or black vinyl or something, I don't have to make a strap for every bag I have. If the black matches other bags, I can just unhook my strap off of here, go throw it on the next bag I want to, you know, use. So that's kind of why I like using these tabs with the D-rings and the swivel hooks. Years ago, when I would make bags, and, you know, if you buy older bags on my website, you're going to see the sew-in strap. You know, there's problems with straps that you sew in when you're doing in the hoop. One, you don't get that length right. It doesn't, you know, it's not going to fit you right. You know, it's going to hang too low or something. So that's one good thing about the adjustable straps with hardware. You know, you can adjust that. Other thing that is a problem with when you sew a strap into a bag, you know that, let's just pretend this is in the hoop. You put the strap, you know, up here where the placement lines would be. Then you have to take your strap, because it's all down here, gather it all up and, you know, get it taped down in the center and hope that you don't catch it when it does the final stitching all the way around. Another problem is if you have gather that strap up in the center when you're doing it in the hoop bag, it's not going to get flat. No matter what you do, you're not going to get it flat enough so that when you put your other pieces of fabric on, you're going to have a little bit of a bump there, and that's going to make either your outside fabrics or your lining fabrics not lie, really nice and flat. So if you have a pattern, and in the hoop bag that has a strap that you're supposed to sew in, instead of doing the strap, make your little tabs. And tabs are usually about 3 inches long. You can make them exactly like you made the strap. Usually what I do when I'm going to make fabric tabs, I probably make a piece that's about 57, 58 inches long. So then I can cut my 3-inch tabs out of that, just, do it all in one. But you would place your tabs, of course, you have to have hardware on those tabs already where the strap needs to be placed in the design. And then you just make your strap and add it later on. It makes it a whole lot easier to sew in the hoop bag if you use something like tabs and hardware. Okay, so here's a good question from Roxanne. Do I leave the short ends raw when I use cork or vinyl? Yes, let me look at my strap here. So on this cork one, yeah, it's just cut. It doesn't fray. Cork and vinyl, faux leather, it doesn't fray. So you don't have to do that fold under. Remember on this one, that short end, I folded it under a 1/2 inch before I started. That's because with fabric, you have to finish off, your short end too. On cork and stuff, you don't have to. You can just cut it. But still, when you sew around your strap, I sew across that short end too. It's just you don't have to fold it underneath. Okay, so I think I'm looking through my notes here. Yeah, so now we're actually going to put the hardware on to make the adjustable strap. So let me look to see if there's any questions. All the hardware needs to be the same size. Jennifer, not really. I don't know if one of my samples has that. Let me look at my bags that I have over here. I don't think that I did that, but you know what? Let's say you use 3/4 inch D-rings or triangle rings. You could make a strap that's wider. Say you like a wider strap. You don't want it digging into your shoulder or something. You just want a wider strap. Why not add a wider strap? And let me grab my strap here that is 1 inch. And let's just put it on the 3/4 inch D-ring and see what it looks like. It is the same finish. They're both silver. You just get the other end put on. It'll give you an idea kind of how different size hardware looks together. You just hold it up here. So that doesn't look bad, even though these are 3/4 inch and these are 1 inch. You could completely do that. And then you have a wider strap that maybe you like better, that maybe feels a little bit more comfortable on you. I also, I know at the bottom of the YouTube video going, and if you're watching on Embroidery Garden's Facebook page, the post of the video will have a link in it to a shoulder pad that I have. It's an in the hoop shoulder pad that you can make. I put it on sale, to be something that goes on the strap that will rest on your shoulder, so that if you carry a heavy bag, and you don't have to make it for an in the hoop bag. You can make it for a ready-made bag or any kind of bag. But if it digs into your shoulder, this little pad, it's got batting in it and stuff, will make it nicer on your shoulder. You can also monogram it. There are 2 different versions in there. So that link is associated with this video. So let's go back to getting our hardware and actually making our adjustable strap. All right, so let me move this stuff out of the way. This is the bag I'm going to use. And I'm actually going to show you how to put a rivet in. because that is my preferred method. But again, let's kind of get this stuff out of here. All right, so my strap is completely finished. My ends, it's fabric, so my ends are finished. So my strap is completely ready. Again, you need, I already have my D-rings. They were put on when the bag was made in the hoop. I need 2 swivel hooks to attach it and a tri-glide or a slider buckle. It's called that. It's in the same size as my hardware. It has to fit on the strap. So if my strap is 3/4 of an inch, I need a 3/4 inch tri-glide or buckle slider, they call them. All right, so I'm going to take one end of the strap. It's going to go up through the tri-glide and then back down through it. Now you want it to fold over itself here, like about an inch to an inch and a quarter. If you don't want to use rivets, and let me show you what a rivet looks like. You know, I use rivets on mine just because I like the look of them. They're secure, and I just like that look. That's a personal choice. You can sew these on, okay? So it's folded to the back side here. You have to give yourself enough room so you're going to be able to get your foot under here if you're going to sew it. And you can do a couple of different things. You can sew a box. You can make the box and then put an X in it. Or you can just stitch across and maybe do it at least one more time. You could even do it 3 times just to reinforce it. So you either are going to sew it on or you're going to use a rivet. So after we have this on, you have to secure that. So at this point, I would install my rivet. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to just put a clip on here to hold it right now while I get my press. This is the mini table press from KAMSnaps. I have the big press. Another link in the video is to the Embroidery Garden KAMSnaps press bundle, which comes with the big press. That's the big green press, and several different dies and things like grommets, rivets, snaps, etc. So I've already got my rivet dies in, and I'm going to use 10mm rivets. They come in 8s or 10s, basically. I'm just going to use 10s, just, you know, that's my preference. You're going to need, to complete the whole thing, I need 2 rivets. So I need the one that's like this that has the big prong, and then the one that has just the cap end on it. Let me get my other one out too before I lose those. So right now we're just going to use one of them. And I like to use a leather punch to make the hole. It's a lot easier than using like an awl or something like that. So I would, you know, lay it down and measure so I know exactly where the center is. Let me get my clip out of the way. And make a little mark with a pin or something so I know exactly where I want the hole to be made. I'm going to use my punch first, and I'm going to make the hole. And this is going through both pieces of strap. Hear that little click? Like a wiggle around so I have the hole. If everything doesn't come out, you know, you can punch it through here. A little bit of fabric caught, so I'm just going to snip that off. And let's see, I'm going to take, this is the right side of my strap. This little rivet is actually not going to show. Let me grab my sample here. So when it's all done, you can't see it from the front. You can see it on the back, but you can't see it from the front. The other part gets hidden down in here on the adjustable part. So you either sew it or you're going to use like a rivet or something to hold it together. So I put the one with the prong through. I'm going to put the cap on the back side. I have my press. I'm going to put this so that the cap is, oops, let me kind of turn it so you can see it. So I got the cap sitting down in this little cup right here, I'll call it. Let me get it in a position that makes it easy for me to press down. I'm going to turn it this way. And all I'm going to do is make sure everything is lined up and press it. And now I have my rivet installed. It's very secure. And for me, I like this better than trying to sew that little box around it. I don't do well at that. So that's why I like to use rivets. Okay, so to get back to making our strap, once you have your slider buckle attached, have the back side of the strap up. And I'm just going to kind of go down to the other end, just kind of holding it like this to make sure I don't twist my strap up. And now I'm at the opposite end. I'm going to put my swivel hook on, and I'm going to put it so that the hook is pointed downward. And now I'm going to move it kind of close down here to my buckle. Whoops, I'm getting twisted around here. Make sure that your strap is not twisted. And I think I did twist it up there. Let me just do that again. I'm getting this on that opposite end. I'm going to bring this all the way up here. I have the back side faced up. That's what I want. I'm going to take the opposite end, thread it through, come up from the back, down the front, and I'm just going to move it all close to my swivel hook down here. So all I'm doing is moving my slider down close to the swivel hook. Now that I have this hook on, it's gone through the glide. I'm going to have the strap facing upward, going to the opposite end, take my other swivel hook, and I'm going to place it with the hook going up. And I'm folding it over again, probably just like an inch to an inch and a half. This is where you're going to sew it again, just like you sewed the other end. If you made a box, you're going to make a box here to hold this together. If you made a box with an X, do the same thing. I would put another rivet on here. So let me get it kind of lined up where I want it to be. I'm going to make a mark with my pin because it's so much easier than guessing where I want that hole to be. I'm going to take my punch again, line it up with the mark I made. Get that hole put in there. Again, if the hole doesn't punch all the way through, like the fabric doesn't come out like this one, I'm just going to kind of see how the fabric didn't all the way cut. Just snip it off. Take my rivet set again. Need the long one with the prong. Put it through. And make sure that, this is all even here. Okay, you don't want it to be the backside to slide over because you don't want it to look like that when it's done. Make sure your edges are even. Let me get the cap put on the opposite side. Grab my press again. I'm going to make sure that the cap sits down inside that little cup. I'm going to make sure that my edges are even. Let me get it kind of in there and I'll tilt it so you can see. And then I just squeeze it. And now my other rivet is installed. So now it's just take it, put it on the bag with my swivel hooks. And you know what? I always like, for some reason, personally, I like the adjustable part to be over here on the right side. Again, that's just kind of me. Make sure when you hook it on. You don't twist anything up. Move it here so you guys can see it a little bit better. Now, if you want your bag to be your strap to be longer, you can pull it down and that makes your strap longer. You need your strap to be shorter and just pull it this way. And now your strap is shorter. But I really like to do adjustable straps. I think it just really, it really levels up your bag. It really makes it look a lot professional and a lot nicer. So, and that's how easy it is to make an adjustable strap. And like I said, if I had another bag, if I would have made this in black or some other neutral color, I could unhook it, use it on another bag, so I don't have to keep making straps for bags that I make. Oh, thanks, Monica. And let me get back around here to see if there's any more questions. So I hope that helped you. They are very, very easy to make. What is the name of the punch I used? I got this off of Amazon. I don't think there is no name on it. If you go to Embroidery Garden's Amazon storefront, it's in there. What I like about it too is if I'm going to do a snap has a smaller size prong. You turn this wheel here and, I can get a smaller hole. KAMSnaps does include like an awl. An awl is like a long, sharp, pointed rod that you can push into fabric or vinyl. It works, but I just like this better because it just makes a nice, clean hole for you to, insert a snap in or hardware in. Leah, rivets do come in different sizes. Mainly on bags, I use either a 10 millimeter or an 8 millimeter. The interchangeable strap, I love it too. A lot of times, when I make a bag and I show it, I'll just change out a different strap that I have on there, to show my sample with when I put it on the on my site. Do I ever add a single opening slide to keep the length in place? I don't know. I've never seen that. If you make it the correct size, your strap, the correct size for the hardware that you're using, it's not going to freely slide. I have to pull on this to really make it slide. And especially if you're using something like the one that I showed with the faux leather, that faux leather is kind of going to stick a little bit. So you really have to, pull it to make it adjust to the size that you want. So I'm not real sure what you're talking about. I haven't used them. I haven't seen a need to use it. Do I use double cap rivets or single? Well, mine have a cap on both sides. The prong that had that longer stem on it had the cap on the top. So here's the top. There's like that one with the prong. And then the other one on the back side, you see the cap. It was just like the cap. Let's see. You have the smallest KAMSnaps. You can do rivets with the handheld. There's one that's smaller that you just actually can hold it in one hand. All you need are the correct size dies, which is important. Let me grab my handheld one. Again, I have the big press. I can't show it here because I don't have the room. But the dies, like the top die, these are 10 millimeters. So that's why I had the 10 millimeter rivets. But to change the die, I would unscrew this. Oops, it's on the floor. And then screw in, maybe the 8 millimeter if I was using it. And you change out the bottom too. The bottom has a little screw in it. You can see right there, and they give you a small screwdriver and you just take that out and change it out. But make sure you're using the correct size die with the size of rivets or snaps or anything that you're using. KAMSnaps are great. You can get that Embroidery Garden bundle where everything is bundled together for you. There's a link to that on this video, and there is a code you can use to get 15% off of it. Phil wants to know, does it matter which side the rivet I put on top? So basically, when I put it in here, I have the part that's towards the top. It's the one that has the stem on it. That's how I do it. There are other ways to do it. There are also ways, and you would have to, go to KAMSnaps, join their group. They have a really good group. But sometimes when you do a rivet and you press it, you get this funny little indent on the end of your rivet. Mine came out great. I don't have any kind of little indent. Sometimes though, you'll see it. And what you have to do is you have to adjust your press. On that big green press, there's a screw on the top you can adjust so it's not so much pressure. If you're getting that little indent, it's too much pressure on it. You can adjust that. Jennifer, you never use the different dies. Yeah, you have to use the correct dies and the correct size dies for what you're doing to make them install correctly and to make them, fit right and everything. All right, so I think that I have covered everything that I wanted to cover. And I hope that you found the demo helpful. I hope that you start making adjustable straps because really they are just so easy to do. Remember the May demo coming up on the 20th, where I'm going to show you how to do that towel. That's going to be a real fun one. So I want to thank you all for joining me and go out and have a great day. Something sewn today. Thanks, everyone. Bye.